What's good, Trae? I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
I'm really excited because even just meeting you when we were at Hamilton and you're
Yeah.
like, look, oh my God, we're about to do so much. And I was just like, yes, the energy was on. It was
Yes.
on. So,
Yes.
you have been doing a lot of different things, but one of the things that I think was so touching, and we'll get into your story, but it was your speech at the Emmys. You guys just take a look real quick. Here's Jay at the Emmys.
Before I jump into the next category, I wanted to take a second to actually say something. And I'm doing it for somebody very special to me, and it's my grandmother. When I was a little boy, I'm not going to give my age right now, but when I was a little boy, I used to have conversations with my grandma. And she's from Buffalo, New York. That's where I was born, raised here in Washington. And she would say, Jay, what do you want to be when you're older, and where do you want to be? And I would say back to her, well, Grandma, I hope to be in a room full of people that I admire, I respect, and I value. I grew up watching things like this, the Emmys, and watching journalists, and I would get so excited, and I'd be full of passion. My grandma passed away in the heaviness of COVID in 2020, and her dream was to watch me be on a stage like this. But I'm grateful to say, Grandma, I'm in the room tonight.
There it is. Oh my gosh. I wanted to start with that, Jay, because it's just powerful. And the whole audience, everyone knows I just lost my father. And there was so much pride coming from him to be like, oh my gosh, what? Converge won an Emmy. Like the idea of the hard work and dedication that he sees me pouring into day in and day out, paying out that way. I know you felt the same.
Yes, and first of all, I just want to say, my condolences, and been lifting you up, keeping you lifted up, and stuff. And so, that was a interesting moment being at the Emmys, because I a year ago had watched it on television, and I took a snapshot of it and said, I hope to be there within a few years, and didn't realize that 12 months later I'd be standing in the room. And my grandma was my hero. She was the person that I would talk to her probably, sometimes 2 times a day. And she would just be like, Jay, I got something to tell you, or something was on my heart. And I'd be like, okay, Grandma. And she watched me go through process in life. And she would always tell me, the day that you discover how beautiful your voice is, the world will become beautiful to you. And for years, I suffered with just not accepting who I am. I wanted to alter my voice. I wanted to change features. I wanted to do all these different things. She would say, baby, stop trying to change, because when the real opportunity comes, it won't be able to find you because you're somebody else. So you need to stop and reflect and embrace who you are, all of who you are. And so she was that person in my life that would remind me of who I am. And so when she passed away, it was like a piece of me had left. I mean, her anniversary is June 24th. Mine is June 25th. I mean, when she passed away, when she was 76, I was 36, so there was always something in common. When my mom pushed me out, the first person to hold me was my grandma. My mom didn't even get me. And so, there was always that special bond. And so she told me as a little boy, you're going to do TV. You're going to do media. That you need to give what God has placed on the inside of you back to the people. And we need to see us rise. And I would be like, what do you mean us? She said this. We need to see us rise. People need to see there's hope that what you aspire to do, they can do it too. And so she was always reminding me, and I would take all these different detours, Trae. Like we all do, right? I would take all these different detours, but she would remind me, remember what you want to do. Remember from a little boy. And so that loss was very painful. And so to get to the point, when she passed away in 2020, we couldn't do anything. And so she was in Buffalo, New York, and she had a blood clot that gave her 6 heart attacks. She passed immediately. And I was planning on going home. I had not seen her. We talk on the phone every day, but I hadn't seen her in about good 7-8 years. And so my heart was just broken because, of course, you could not go into the hospital. My grandfather couldn't even be in the hospital. The siblings, nobody. And so I went 2 years of just trying to figure out a way to heal. And it wasn't until I went to the Emmys. And I had a whole speech plan because I was supposed to just go and show up and do a couple categories. At first, they wanted me to do half of it. I said, "Oh no, I've never been here before, so I gotta figure this out and feel it."
Yeah.
And so they said, "What about 9?" And then why don't you say something? And I was like, "Okay." So I had a whole thing planned. And then right before I walked onto the stage, I heard a voice say, "Go ahead and get your closure. Tell the people who your hero is, the one they don't know about." And that's when I took the stage and I said, "Of course, you go to the Emmys and you talk about your grandma. What?" But I did that and I felt like this door of pain shut. And like she's proud that I continued on the legacy of pouring out and giving back. And she said, "Give back to the people what's been placed on the inside of you." So I really feel like that's what I'm here for. And I don't want to cry, but she was everything to me. And I'm very grateful that she was that voice that I could always look to. And she was a strong woman, a strong Black woman, and she didn't play.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm very grateful to have had that. And it's kept me very focused.
I'll tell you this much, Jay. When you're talking about the depths of your grandmother, I'm feeling it over here. And for me, that's exactly what keeps me in media. We do need to be seen. Our stories need to be uplifted.
Yes.
They need to be shared. They need to be showcased in the most glorious spotlight possible. Right. And when we're at the helm of narrating and crafting these stories and production and bringing it together, it really resonates with the audience. And I hear it all the time about the effect this show has. So I really feel you in that. Now, tell us a bit about what you're doing in media and how you're utilizing, what your grandma was telling you about, the things that you had on the inside. How are you utilizing that in the media space?
It's interesting because I really believe for me growing up, I didn't feel like my voice was heard. And I suffered a lot, like, trauma and certain things that I've gone through. And for me, just like the last interview you just did, I didn't really get into therapy until I was an adult. For me growing up, it was, especially as a man, you don't talk about things, and it's almost like the unsaid thing. You just don't talk. You don't say anything. My grandma gave me the space to breathe. She created an atmosphere to where I could cry, I could be frustrated, I could be angry, and then we would just take a deep breath and then be like, "Okay, so how are we going to move forward?" And so I felt like it was almost like this thing placed on me to do that for people. And so as I continued on my journey, I would say I hope to just create a space where people can actually be their most authentic selves. They can actually drop the mask that they feel they have to wear because of society, because of social media, because of certain situations of trauma, that you can really just be yourself. And I'm not going to shame you, whatever that is. Let's just breathe together in that. And I've had some of the most fantastic interviews, on the podcast, and just different atmospheres. And so I feel like that's my mission and maybe it just sounds like, well, that's nice. But for me, it's everything.
Right.
Because a lot of people are not breathing. A lot of people on this earth are just holding their breath, trying to get to the next space. And I want to be the in-between person. I hope to be a person that can help facilitate a bridge between the condition and the answer, to where when you meet me, I let you breathe as you get to the answer. And I necessarily don't have all the answers, but I know somebody gave me just that space. And so that's what I feel like it's the journey that I've been given to walk on. So
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And this journey for you has been, exciting indeed.
Yes.
I mean, we got a couple of clips here because you got the opportunity to be on the plane as people were jumping out for the tell us a bit about this. Set this up for us. What are we about to see here, Jay Martin Jr.?
You're about to see me face my fears. I mean, it's so cool because of the doors that are opening up. I've had different places or spaces open up to me being able to experience something. For me, that was with the U.S. Army. Shout out to you. Thank you for what you do. I'm so grateful. And I can't believe that y'all wanted me to get on a plane. But anyway, it was so great to go with the Golden Knights and to go up and see them jump for Seafair 2022. We've all have had things where things were shut down. And so it's been great to like see things open back up again. One of those things was to see the Golden Knights jump out of the plane. I was actually going to jump out. And then I said, today's not my day. I'm not ready for that. I always think of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air clip when he's like, Hillary, will you? And it's like, I didn't want that to be me. So, but I want to do that. But yeah, so this clip is super cool to be able to be around people that just inspire, do the work that they do to support our country and beyond. And so this is some of them have jumped over 3,000 times, and it's for Seafair. So yeah, take a look. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness. Now you were right there in the heart of the action.
I was right next to the door where they were jumping out of. And every time somebody would jump, my stomach. But that was such an experience, and I'm so grateful. And they're looking at wanting to have me have my first, jumping experience. So, in a couple months, I'm working towards it.
Hey, if you need a partner, you got one in me.
Okay,
I'm ready.
really, Trae?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I am ready.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to it.
Yeah, you got me. Well, also too, when we talk about doors opening, you were just recently at the Steelheads opening, right? Just tell us a bit about this as well.
That was such an experience to be in a room full of people that are successful. I think what was really amazing is that, there was a location that had closed down due to the pandemic. And so the Pyramid, I believe it was called, it had closed down. And I really believe that the Soto area, all of that needs just a breath of fresh air. And so it was so nice to be there amongst different people. People were winning signed baseballs from Ken Griffey Jr. Wow. The food. I'm such a foodie. Yeah. The food was exquisite. I tasted Korean barbecue wings. I had pizza. They had drinks, different types of drinks there. And then it was just great to rub shoulders and have great conversation. And then what was amazing is to know that it is actually the first Black brewery in our city. So that was cool to see that unfolding and seeing the history and all of that. So I think for me, I was taking so much in of just having good conversation, tasting the food, and hearing the chatter going around about, can you believe this is actually happening for us across from T-Mobile Park? And so it was great. The swag was great. You got a bag, you got a hat, you got a t-shirt, all the good stuff, and people were winning things. But I think there's something to be said about community, and Seattle really needs that in coming out of and still dealing with certain things. But I think community is really a big thing for Seattle. And so I think we need to come together. I think we need to gather, of course, being safe, but I think it's great to see spaces open back up where we can enjoy each other and talk and belong and just be. So that was my experience. It was so good. It was worth it. I'm glad Converge was in the room.
Yeah.
I was like, they were like, who are you with Converge?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Converge. I'm so excited to be here. So,
Well, you're an amazing addition to the family, and shout out to Medier Brewing, who's over there running the Steelheads bar right there across from T-Mobile Park. This is really exciting because I'm loving to see us be able to take advantage of these opportunities as spaces shut down. We're ready. We're ready with our business plans. We're ready with everything that we need to fill in these spaces. So I love that. I love that you were there. But of course, we talked a little bit about this, but the Drive Project is your podcast that is joining the Converge Media family.
So excited.
As you were sharing, you're really looking to be that conduit between, people, and their healing situation, whatever that is, their trauma, over to the actual solution. Tell us a bit about how you've been able to really develop this podcast to be that voice that you were talking about you wanted to bring into the world of media.
Well, the interesting backstory behind it is I was very insecure of my voice growing up, and I've shared this before, I have siblings and I have brothers, and they got the cool voice. They were like, they had the really deep, like, when puberty hit them, you knew. It seemed like when puberty hit me, I went opposite. I sound more like my grandmother. My voice got higher, and I'm like, what is this? And it was a big struggle for me, and so I went through a lot of just pain because I would practice in the mirror trying to change my voice. And so fast forward, 2018. I have a great friend. His name is Andrew Coleman Smith. He used to work for King 5 here in Seattle. And so now he's a VP of a video firm, all this kind of stuff. And he looked at me one day and we were sitting at a restaurant and he said, have you ever thought about starting a podcast? And I said, who? And he said, your voice. And I said, oh, I don't have a voice people will want to listen to. And he says, actually, you do. He says, you've helped me through a lot of stuff just in conversations. I think if you would embrace your insecurity, it would be such a level of success for you. My grandma would say, once you embrace all your insecurities, they become weapons of success. And so I launched, I was like, okay. And he's like, if you could just get a few people. I said, well, who wants to talk to me? He said, ask, you'd be surprised. So I started asking Emmy Award winning journalists and, writers and producers, and they were giving me my yes. And I would sit there and start interviewing people. And it's been such a blessing to be able to, it's weird because it started out with, I was very nervous, but as you listen to the podcast, you will find out that I get more and more confident and I tell you more about me. The goal in this podcast, I named it the Drive Project Podcast because I really believe we're all a project in the making. We're something that is unfolding. And so that's what I feel like this podcast is. That's why I started it. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to create a space for people to breathe and share. And we'll see where we go with it. I don't know the final ending, but I know where I'm at right now. And I'm not where I used to be. So, let's do this. And it has been a beautiful journey. And so I hope that as people go on this journey with now being here with you guys, that we'll go deeper. That we'll open up more and we'll really get to a place to where we really can be comfortable. I want to cry with you. I want to laugh with you. I want to grow with you. And so that's what this podcast means to me. And so who would have thought that the little boy who was like, I can't talk, who's going to listen to me, is the very thing that now I do as a podcaster, as a journalist now. And so, yeah, it's a crazy world. It is.
Oh my goodness. Jay Martin Jr. in the building, the new addition to the Converge family. Man, welcome, brother. Welcome.
Thank you
so much. I am so inspired by just listening to your story, getting to connect with you. This is just the beginning because we got plenty more we're going to be doing together. And I can't wait for these opportunities to open up for us to bond, build on this amazing media platform here at Converge. This for me is really us taking ownership. You know what I mean? We're not asking for permission. We're not begging for nothing. We are doing it and moving forward. And as Tosh Haynes said right here on that couch, she said, we're living in purpose on purpose. And I have been saying that ever since she said that to me, because that's exactly what it is. And I know that we're not just making those who we were connected with, like your grandmother and my father, proud, but our entire ancestral line is proud of what we're doing here. So officially welcome.
Oh, I'm so
I
grateful.
love you so much. Can't wait to hang and do all the things. We will always be in touch. This is always a space for you. So if you ever have anything going on, you want to come back on and share an amazing guest, anything, you got it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be able to do the things that I'm able to do. And it's passion, purpose, and possibility.
There it is.
That's it. I just want to allow people to experience that and share that. So thank you for allowing me to share that.
Of course. Anytime.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.